Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. It's your boy Pete Rose. Chronic conversation in the building. Spill entertainment always. Shout out my brother Razor. Help me help them is the organization. I know what it is. Any donations, DM, help me help them on Instagram. And let's partner up. Like I said, we're changing the narrative in the city of Philadelphia. So today on this React bid, we have 50 Cent versus Big Meech Part 2. Is 50 Cent 50 steps ahead of everybody else? Or was Blue Da Vinci's story about Tammy and Cuff the one that blew the lid off of everything? It was just a matter of time before everything got out. Let's talk about it today. Let's talk about it. Because if 50 Cent was 50 steps ahead, he's a diabolical mastermind. Not a genius. He 50 smart. I'm not going to say a diabolical genius because the people he's working with, that he's working against, the people he's working with, the people he's working against, they're not too smart. They think they are, but they're not too smart. A smart man can play the fool can't play a smart man. Always remember that. And I know 50 Cent ain't a fool. For real. Even though she calls you drama, you love your baby mama. Hit her with the llama to get this cake. Give her the dough, the cash, the convo to the safe, or you don't know it. Damn, okay, we'll wait. Shout out my nigga Fifth, man. I was just listening to Power of a Dollar earlier today. That's one of my favorite. 50 Cent's first two albums is like my favorite. I ain't gonna lie. But let's get into this 50 Cent versus Rick Ross Part 2. Is 50 Cent 50 steps ahead of everybody else? Or was this case already blown out the water from the story from Blue Da Vinci about Cuff and Tammy? And was it just a matter of time before all this came up? Let's get into it. Shout out Prophet. Listen, when it comes to the street stuff, kingpin stuff, drug stuff, you got a channel called American Dope. Make sure you check out Our Prophet, check out American Dope. I've definitely been watching this channel for a minute, and he's always accurate from off the stuff that I know from off the streets. And he's pretty accurate. He's been doing it for a long time. So shout out to Our Prophet. Let's go. And his title says 50 Cent put Little Meech versus Big Meech. Puppet Master of the Dope Man. Oh, let's get right into this ASAP Rocky. Let's go.
Entry into being a celebrity instead of a gangster perhaps was cast when his own seed was born, Little Meech.
And somebody, one of the workers was like, hey, there go your nephew over there, Little Meech. So I'm like, oh, shit, where he at? Because I ain't even know nothing was wrong. I'm like, what up, man? He's like, you rat ass. My daddy said you a rat. Whoa. I said, what? He like, you owe my daddy money for all them t-shirts you've been making and blah, blah, blah. You never gave my daddy no money for no t-shirts.
Because Little Meech going into a Blue Da Vinci owned something car accessory place in Miami, and Little Meech went in there to confront him.
Bro, it just blew me away, bro. I went crazy. I didn't know what the.
And when you're Studio 183 on Saturday, if you're in Miami, pull up on me. We there. Pull up on the mob. We outside.
A year pass or something go by, some more years, some change go by, the TV show getting ready to come out. And when they start their promo, they started their promo with This and Blue, had 50 Cent involved and all that shit. They came out This and Blue.
BMF, but more specifically.
Hold on. Before we go on, Blue Da Vinci is right. When they first started talking about the show, not the movie, was supposed to be a movie first. When they started talking about the show, that's when they started the Blue Da Vinci RAT campaign. And I was sitting back thinking, I'm like, we know the BMF story, not the Detroit story. I'm talking about the Atlanta story. Anybody that was outside, around, that's tuned in to the entertainment in the streets, you know the whole BMF story, from Beast having a tiger at the party and the animals, all the way up to the indictment. So when they came out with I remember when they came out with the show, they started a campaign with saying Blue Da Vinci was an RAT. I was like, I never heard that one. And I was like, I know he had the story about the lady Tammy and Guy Cuffy, but how is he? Whatever. But now that everything is coming out, well, really coming back out. Because our prophet to tell you, he did a story on this way before. Nobody really cared until 50 said something. When 50 said something, caught the attention of everybody. Caught the attention.
Big Meech in his personality have been extremely influential over the last 20 years.
Everybody is from somewhere else different. You don't get nothing like this nowhere. Everybody move like brothers.
Culture, and with the help of 50 Cent, it's.
I told you that video right there. That video of Meech talking about we all brothers, before viral was even a word. That clip right there, that's from a DVD, a BMF DVD. But that clip right there was so inspirational to all brothers in the streets because it was about camaraderie. It was about camaraderie. So behind the scenes, it must be turmoil or something brewing to lead up to this. Because that video right there, and I showed that you can check my last video, and I'll put it in the description at the end of the video. But I went in depth on that video because I remember that joint. It inspired me. But you see that video right there, they're always going to go back to that video. Meech talking about, we a crew, no man above the crew, and all that.
It's grown and expanded. Well, it was growing and expanding even more. And it's interesting that, of course, little Meech, who was not raised in the same environment as his father, after all, supposedly that's why one of the reasons people commit crimes is so their family can have a better life. Though, of course, taking yourself away from your son for 20 years in exchange for what? A big BMF chain? I don't think any of us think that's a more healthy thing to give your child.
Like, when I first met 50, I was still trying to find myself. My dad was calling me from jail every day. He was like, man, what you gonna do? I don't know. I always knew I wanted to be my own person. So I met 50. 50 put me in acting classes for 2 years in LA, invested in me, paid for the acting classes. I had to go every day, 2 times a day, 5 days a week, in the morning.
Hold up, wait a minute. I didn't know that, I did not know that right there. So 50 put Lil Meech in acting class out in LA for 2 years. I've never seen this interview with Lil Meech. That's why I don't know. I only found out that Stars didn't want him to be the lead role. I just found out that 50 Cent vouched for Lil Meech to play his father. And that's why he definitely sent him to acting class. Because they're like, he's not no actor. We want somebody certified. So, damn. So 2 years before the show even dropped, 50's already investing his time and his money into this situation.
Morning, in the afternoon, come back home, study again, do the same thing the next day.
Little Meech actually went to the senior prom with Rick Ross's daughter. So this makes me think that the diabolical genius 50 Cent, well, he's not really a genius because the.
Hold on. Excuse me. You ain't gonna skip past that part. So you telling me Little Meech and Rick Ross' daughter went to the prom together? Okay, this where it gets in, like our prophet said. This where it gets into 50 Cent being a diabolical genius. Because if he has any type of relationship with Rick Ross's daughter, I'm pretty sure he has a relationship with Rick Ross. Rick Ross made the song BMF. Hold up, wait a minute.
People he's manipulating don't require genius to be manipulated because they're so caught up in their own narcissism.
What you that on?
Ross's daughter. So this
5 days a week, in the morning, in the afternoon, come back home, study again, do the same thing the next day.
Little Meech actually went to the senior prom with Rick Ross's daughter. So this makes me think that the diabolical genius 50 Cent, well, he's not really a genius because the people he's manipulating don't require genius to be manipulated because there's no caught their own narcissism.
And not bad to phrase it, but that's what I was saying, bro. Like, I'm not saying 50 Cent's not a genius or smart. I'm saying he didn't have to be genius because the people he dealing with is so blinded by whatever and disillusioned by whatever that you don't even have to really play 48 laws of power or chess moves because they're not even playing checkers. They playing Candyland. I'm serious. They playing something else. They playing Chutes and Ladders. You don't even gotta play chess.
If I ain't with you, I don't want it. This shit come with mom.
In the afternoon, come back home, study again, do the same thing the next day.
Little Meech actually went to the senior prom with Rick Ross's daughter. So this makes me think that the diabolical genius 50 Cent is really genius because the police manipulating, don't manipulate because they're
But he is diabolical.
so caught up in their own narcissism.
What you that on? If I ain't with you, I don't want it.
This shit come with the Draco, man. This shit come with the Draco. Come with the Draco. Still, this shit come with the Draco.
Yeah. What you think about it, Fire? How I feel?
Feel good. Wait, get the strap.
So Rick Ross and Meech have had a relationship all along. And all the stuff that came out with Tammy Collins and whatever she did or didn't do with Meech, these same allegations, these same legal documents are all saying just stuff dates from 2015. And per Dion Cuffy Gatling's own interviews recently.
So me and Tammy were working on the BMF movie. I originally had the script and paid for the script for the BMF movie, not the show that 50's doing on Stars. But I originally paid for the script for the BMF movie, so we were shopping the movie.
So Tammy was involved at that time, which is CS1.
Tammy Cowan, CS1 had all Meek's life rights.
Right. And what year was that?
This all the way back in 09, 2010.
He would go to Atlanta around that 2010 or so, and Blue Da Vinci at that time, he had just got out of prison. He had a blue Bentley, and Dion Gatling would come to Atlanta, and he would borrow the blue Bentley. He would pick up Tammy Collins. They would ride around they would go and have meetings, and they wanted to use the Bentley to present that they were doing well, and they were in the entertainment industry. They were having meetings to get funding for a movie. Well, originally it was a movie, and I don't know if you all remember, but I do. Meech got paid several times for his life rights. And all the stuff that's going on now, it's all the same people from years ago. So they all knew all this. And 50 Cent had all this stuff in his ammunition box. So there was a $25 million budget talked about for a movie. And as you see here, Randall Emmett, one of the producers. Randall Emmett, if you remember, he was married to the woman off of Vanderpump Rules. And Randall Emmett had the famous I'm Sorry 50 text. I'm sorry, 50, because 50 Cent, aka 50 Cent, loaned him $1 million at one point because Randall Emmett he's like a low budget film king. He has production credits on some big budget stuff like Kill the Irishman as well. But
I remember that situation. And I remember everybody saying 50 Cent was being petty because nobody even knew who this guy was. But he's like, yo, he owed me $1 million. And that's that alone. We like, yo, bro, we thinking, he a producer, he getting money. Pay 50. I don't even know if he ever paid 50 $1 million. But Bull do all the straight to Netflix movies, probably the Steven Seagal movies. Let's get back into it.
He does a lot of straight, well, they're not straight to DVD, straight to streaming, like crime movies and stuff like that. And 50 loaned him $1 million at one point, and 50 had to get his lawyer to go after him. But this would have been the connection between 50 Cent and Big Meech was in the very beginning. It was Dion Cuffy Gatling riding around with Tammy Collins, who he's so upset at now, and he has so much negative to say. He was riding around with her in Blue Da Vinci's Blue Bentley and having meetings, and they got approval. But see, the BMF story isn't really that appealing to mainstream when you there's no redemptive arc. It's not like stories I do, Motown Mafia. We're working on New and Beyond Street Dreams, where the parents were gangsters, but the kids went to college. And Motown Mafia, the daughter, she's a lawyer now. Courtney Brown is my friend. He produces more documentaries with me. He owns businesses, travels the world. He has property in Africa, goes to China every year. Well, there's nothing in the BMF story that's all that appealing to anybody outside of urban America or a certain corner of urban America where no one does anything.
And he has a great point right there. And I agree with him. Because when they first announced that there was going to be a BMF series, the first thing I said to myself, I'm like, we already know that story. Usually the stories we get be like from the 80s, the 90s, where we weren't born yet or we were little kids and we don't know the whole story. Like you said, it's a redemption arc. The kids went on in life to do something better and left the streets alone. Like you said, that redemption arc is important. There was no redemption arc in the BMF story, like he said. And when the show was coming out, I'm like, all right. The first season I understood because it's showing them in Detroit. We didn't really know that. We didn't know that story of them back in Detroit. I didn't know that story of them back in Detroit. I'm just knowing them. That's why I thought they were from Atlanta. I thought they were from Atlanta, and then everything happened after that. But I say that to say this. I'm like, all right, when they get to Atlanta, how they going to portray that? Because then they get indicted. So then you got to show all the people that told. And it was just, I'm like, no, they're going to have to fabricate a lot of stuff. And then with Blue Da Vinci not being in there, and I know he was an integral part, especially in the music part of it. And if you bring the music aspect into the TV series, who's going to play him? And if he doesn't agree for his character, or they don't even have his character in there, they got to make stuff up. So now when they're starting to go into the Atlanta part, and I'm talking about not when they first get there, none of that, and they beef with the Miami boys. I'm talking about BMF is established. That part of the story. It has to get a little fabricated. And that's why I was thinking that nobody picked the movie up. And 50 Cent had to go to Stars and work his magic and convince them that it was something to actually pick up and people will really watch. Because that's that at the end of the day, Stars and Netflix, they only care about the ratings. They only care about the story. The story definitely has to be good, but they want to know, is it a complete story where people want to watch and people are going to rewatch and spread the word so people that's not watching it will watch it. So 50 Cent definitely put a lot on the line with his name and his credibility by getting his show greenlit. Definitely. Because they couldn't even get the movie greenlit.
But just goes in a circle and go, oh, we're going to go to the same club and have sex with the same women and throw money in the air. So that deal, that $25 million couldn't get made, but 50, who knew Randall Emmett, now had it. So it was through the informant Tammy Collins and through this white semi-bankrupted producer Randall Emmett that 50 Cent got connected to Big Meech in the first place. So it was, kind of a low-down, weird connection in the first place. And meanwhile, Little Meech is growing up in South Florida. He goes to the prom with Rick Ross's daughter. So Meech was connected to Rick Ross through a personal way and through Meech in a business way through Tammy Collins, and Cuffy was a part of it years ago. It just took many years to come to fruition. So everybody now acting like, oh my God, this is all, and snitches and paperwork. All this stuff was known. Now, Mr. Gatling, you can feel however you want about him. He's a very serious person. And, he's doing 27 years. He took a plea, and in his plea it includes, I don't know what's the exact federal charge. It's something like maintenance of a drug conspiracy through homicide or something, but basically several informants against him and his now deceased brother. His brother unfortunately passed away in prison, federal prison, not long after he was sentenced there some years back. His brother had an incident when his brother was taken into custody. The DEA had the house running in St. Louis, and there were shots fired at the DEA, supposedly. So the Gatling brothers, serious guys. Tammy Collins being frightened of him makes sense because, again, he's in prison right now for pleading guilty to having some murders done up to some people that informed on him and his brother. You can look up the DEA. Just look up St. Louis DEA Dion Gatling, and you can read the press release. So he's a real guy. And that case that he has is not really, the wiretap went on his phones because of what went on with Tammy Collins and Meech. But then he was already doing stuff, and he did some other stuff, and he had those witnesses taken out. So that's he's not per se in prison because of Tammy Collins or Meech. He feels like the feds got on him because of them, but the guy had already been to prison. His brother they were all already hot, which doesn't mean it's not snitching with Tammy Collins did or informing. It is. But I'm more interested, there's been all this debate about third-party cooperation. We'll never really probably know unless Tammy Collins or Meech said, yes, I sicked her on him, because there's so many documents we can't see. Who knows what the truth is? But I just think it's interesting, the family component about how Little Meech might have set this all in motion. Little Meech had a battery in his back from what? From going to school with Rick Ross's daughter. So you're famous because your dad was a drug dealer. You're dating, you go to prom with the daughter of a fake drug dealer rapper. And now here comes 50 Cent. 50 Cent, I get the impression, he doesn't really like necessarily street gangsters or drug dealers unless they're down with him, but he doesn't just inherently just like them. That's why he broke Supreme, and he knew all this stuff about Meech and Tammy and Gatling back when it was all starting because it had already happened. And he only met them through this guy, Randall Emmett, who's was a bankrupted producer. He got back on his feet. He still does movies. He uses his middle name now because his regular name is so bad. I think he had a woman accused him of some SA and he had to pay some money. I think something. Well, not I think there was a story involving those elements. I don't remember the exact details. It's not relevant. So this is the gumbo of human beings out of which this BMF show came out of. And it's a wonder it didn't go sideways earlier. But what if 50 Cent all along, like when he said, "What show, Little Meech?" What if all along he had it that once the show runs its course, and it has, they were good to get 4 seasons out of it. He was always going to throw them all under the bus for some more publicity because he knew all this stuff all along. 50 Cent, diabolical genius. I think he played them all. He had to have known Little Meech went to the Prime because it's on the internet. If I could look up the photos and other people knew about it, then he knew. So when he sent Little Meech to acting school to play his dad, did he have all this in plan for him? He knew he went to the Prime with his enemy's daughter.
Hold on. My bad. Hold up. That's why 50 Cent is a diabolical genius, if this is true. Because, like he said, he had to know his son is living in South Florida. He went on the Prom with Rick Ross' daughter. Rick Ross mixed the BMF song. 50 Cent definitely did his due diligence. Was 50 Cent 50 steps ahead of everybody else? Like, that's a great question. Was he 50 steps ahead of everybody else? Did he formulate this play and just let it play out? That's crazy, man. That's my God, man. I don't care how petty y'all say Fifth is. I fuck with Fifth.
Wouldn't that be something?
It's still a surreal moment to me. Like when I first met 50, my dad was calling me from jail every day. He was like, "Man, what you gonna do?"
50 has no qualms about using his own. Well, he used his own son for publicity. Supreme's son, Supreme, like he doesn't care. And listen, I mean, you can think that he's a bad person for that or not, but Big Meech and Supreme or any serious drug dealer, I mean, they don't ask anybody's permission to sell drugs in your neighborhood. So what does 50 Cent care about their family dynamics? And the seeds of destruction weren't planted by 50 Cent. They're planted by guys that choose the streets over home. And as we hopefully move forward into the 2025 and beyond, and we think about the impact of the street life or whatever, or being a professional criminal, gonna have to come to terms. Everyone's talking about all this snitching and they're bad because they snitched and this and that. Well, if you're faced with a choice where you could turn somebody in and come home and be with your kids, but you don't, so you go sit in prison, so your kids have no father. And I don't care if you talk to them on the phone or you hustle in prison and send some money. You're not there with them. You have chosen a criminal, the person you didn't tell on, over your kid. That's a fact. Now, that's a difficult situation to be in, so you shouldn't put yourself in it, but nonetheless, it's true. And many I know a lot of, I know more Kingpin's kids than probably anybody. Because even the Kingpin's kids might only know one other Kingpin's kid. I know a bunch of Kingpin's kids. And for the most part, not all, but for the most part, it's definitely a lot more bad than good. What seems good in the short term, when they're young, especially the boys or young men, they like hearing these tales of their father. But as they get older, and just like there's people that's going to laud your father for all he did, if there's people who feel like your father might have killed their father. How about that? So it gets real tricky in this glamorized vision of the street life we've been being sold. We're now seeing the unraveling of it in real life through the underbelly and the backstory of this fictionalized TV show of some real people. So interesting. 50 Cent, I think, had it all mapped out. It's all these drug guys are just products for him to sell. And he may have had all this planned all along because he certainly knew it. And Dion Cuffy Gatling, serious guy, dangerous guy, in prison right now for homicides, violence against informants in the case that he pled guilty to, according to the DEA press release I read. So he's not anyone to play around with. But he was riding around with Tammy Collins, and when they were all trying to work a deal, it doesn't seem like anybody was too concerned. I just think things went sideways. And wouldn't it be amazing if this beef was more so about the, the, the ego battle between Cuffy and Meech about who was going to get a movie or a show made?
If you got a robbing ass boss, then you're gonna be a robbing ass crew. If you got a real boss who know how to sacrifice and take the bad along with the good and show his crew know how to be men, then that's what you get.
I told you that clip is always going to be infamous, bro. If you got a robbing ass boss, you're gonna have a robbing ass crew. That's one of the parts I never forget. Like, yo, your boss is a robber. You got a robbing ass crew because they're gonna take the same traits. But back to speak on what he said. Did this all start because of beef for the life rights with the movie and all that? Because Cuffy was out here working, he found the deal, it didn't go through. I guess because Meek says 50's on board now, and we don't want that 25 million. You got another situation over there. So that might have could have sparked the whole separation. We don't know. They will have to speak on that. This is the speculation at the end of the day with this part.
As opposed to this snitching stuff, which in the case that he pled press release I read, around with, but he was riding around with Tammy Collins, and when they were all trying to work a deal, it doesn't seem like anybody was too concerned. I just think things went sideways. And wouldn't it be amazing if this beef was more so about the ego battle between Cuffy and Meech about who was going to get a movie made?
If you got a robbing ass boss, then you're gonna be a robbing ass crew. If you got a real boss who know how to sacrifice and take the bad along with the good and show his crew know how to be men, then that's what you get.
As opposed to this snitching stuff, which they knew all this years ago, I guess. I don't know. So what do you think? Do you think that if Little Meech hadn't gone and antagonized Blue Da Vinci, that all of this would have not come out? Or that it was already out? But like I was telling people, because I put up an interview with Cuffy almost 2 years ago, and it got 80,000 views. For me, that's not that many. And he was on many people's shows. Like I was telling people then, I said, well, Meech is a celebrity. People don't really care. They don't want to hear the truth, right? The reality is very few people are gangsters or are in the streets, so they just want to be entertained, and people like Big Meech, so they didn't care Only that when 50 Cent said it, did it become something that people cared about. So if this hadn't all got triggered, was it triggered by Little Meech? What do you think? Or was 50 planning this?
Mm, 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 mm. Shout out to Our Prophet. Shout out to American. Subscribe to his channel. Just like, if you like being entertained about the street stuff and street stories about kingpins, Our Prophet YouTube channel, and it's a guy named Pop a lot. They do some real good work. Them two, Our Prophet YouTube channel and Pop a lot YouTube channel, and definitely check out my brother SB Twiz YouTube channel. Those three channels you'll definitely enjoy. But like he said, what you think? Let me know what y'all think, man. I mean, comment, subscribe, and share. But definitely comment on, because I be wanting to know what the people think. Was this part of 50 Cent's plan all along? Did it start because Little Meech antagonizing Blue Da Vinci, calling Blue Da Vinci a rat? And that's when Blue Da Vinci went on offense and started spreading the word. Or was it a combination of both? Man, this is definitely not the end of the situation. Is it the end of Big Meech? That I don't know. Is it the end of Little Meech? That I don't know. One thing I do know is not the end of 50 Cent. The diabolical genes. Oh man, this situation is crazy. This is crazy. As I don't know. I don't know if this was part of 50's plan all along. I don't know if Lil Meech sparked it by calling Blue Da Vinci a rat, or was it a combination of both? Even though she calls you drama, you love your baby mama. She hit you with the llama and get that cake. With the dope, the cash, the Chicago to the safe. She don't know it. Okay, we'll wait. It's your boy P Rose. Crowded Conversation React vid. 50 Cent versus Big Meech Part 2. Was 50 Cent 50 steps ahead of everybody else? Make sure to like, subscribe, share the video, share the channel. It's your guy Pete Rose, Spill Entertainment, Chronic Conversation. And like that, we out.